Hi there, welcome to PP5. Today we will discuss about the book of Revelation 6:8 regarding the seven seals and how this is fulfilled in our lifetime. Without further ado, let's get started. Alright, the first seal here is actually talking about the white horse, which represents the invasion. Okay, Revelation 6:2. So I looked and saw the white horse, and its rider behind a bow, and it was given a crown, and he rode out to overcome and to conquer. Right, the white horse means an army. Its crown here means a king, right? Conquer means it is to invade, right? So when we have seen across the history that there are actually thousands of wars in human history spanning for hundreds of years. Okay. The war caused by the invasion of one nation to expand their territory and power. And when one nation invade another nation, then the war began. Nowadays, there are many nations grouped together to form an alliance, right? So when they form an alliance, so when one nation is attacked, the whole alliance have to defend, right? So what does it mean? If an enemy attack and invade one of the member of the territory, their ally will fought together. This will cause greater chain effect of the war. It's like domino of war for a global domination. So this is what's happening today. This cycle has repeated again and again throughout human history. If you take a look for 100 years, so there was one white horse coming, there will be another white horse coming again in the future. It had happened in the past and will happen also in the future. And finally, the last war that we have in the history is World War One, which is triggered by the invasion of Australia, Hungary to Serbia. So that also what happened in the World War II, which is triggered by the invasion of Germany to Europe and the invasion of Japan to Asia. So the white horse here is represent the invasion of a nation to another nation and will trigger a series of war, right? So this what is actually talking about this one. So the white horse is actually not a war itself. The the war itself is represented by the next horse, which is the red horse. Let's talk about the war. Okay, the white horse represents a nation, right, that is growing up with a king that leads them. But finally, after the nation grew up, it tried to expand their territory, then it will start the engage of war. Okay, Revelation 6:4. Then another horse went forth, and it was bright red. And the rider was granted permission to take away peace from the earth, and to make men slay one another. And he was given a great sword. Right. The red horse here means an army, right? And the great sword means a weapon for a war and for destruction. There has been wars happen repetitively for 1,000 years in human history. It still happens today, and it will happen again in the future. War was always caused by the invasion of one territory or one alliance or a group of a nation to another group of nation. Okay. Modern warfare uses more sophisticated technology. Right? In the past, they are using only a bow, sword, etc. But now they are using gun, missile, and even nuclear weapon. Right? So modern warfare causes more mass destruction than what is in the past. Right? A future war will always be more devastating and more deadly than the past war. If a weapon of mass destruction is used in the war, it can take away million or even billion people. So as we can see in World War One, we have a triple alliance, which is Germany and Austria-Hungary, versus the triple entity, which is Britain, France, and Russia. And then during World War Two, there are alliance again called Axis power, which is Germany, Japan, and Italy versus Allied power, which is US, France, Britain, and USSR. So all these things are actually represent the war that is happening in recent history. So take a look here, the war in the human history. All the war that is happening mainly are in the Europe region, right? So in the Middle East along the Euphrates River. And today the world is also preparing for the war, even though after the World War II there is a significant period of time where we live in peace. However, you can see the military base all over the world all are in the great fire here. You can see that world now somehow are preparing for war. And once the war breaks out, then that will be even worse. Many humans will die. Okay, next. What is happening after the war is actually famine. It is represented by the black horse. And this famine is even worse than the red horse itself. Right? Revelation 6:6. Then I looked and saw a black horse, and the rider held his hand a pair of scales. And I heard that sounded like a voice from among the four living creatures, saying, a quart of the wheat for a denarius, and a three-quart of barley for a denarius, and do not harm oil and wine. So black horse here represents famine. Pair of scale is used to measure food, and the price here are very expensive price for a little thing. So that means the scarce of the food, right? Scarcity of the food causes everything expensive, then the people are able to afford it. So that causes some famine, right? War destroy not only financial system but also economic activity and caused the famine and other disease or pandemic to spread. Famine had happened around 4,000 times in the human history. It caused million or even billion of death. Even today, there are million or billion people still living in extreme poverty. Famine itself could also be caused by natural disaster, poverty, corruption, sanction, etc. So here are the picture of the graphic that people are actually living in the famine today and the poverty. And also the hunger map from the United Nations shows that a lot of people are actually still living under chronic hunger. Right. So what's next is actually the green horse, which is death itself. Just Revelation 6:8. Then I looked and saw a pale green horse. Its rider's name was Death, and the Hades, followed by the clouds behind. And they were given authority over the fourth and of the earth, and to kill by sword, by famine, by plague, and also by the beasts of the earth. Right. All these things, the green horse here represent the death. The Hades is the place for the dead. Okay. Even though everyone will eventually die, death here represents unnatural death, right? Natural death mainly caused by the old age or disease like heart disease, cancer, etc. However, unnatural death is caused by the war, famine, pandemic, disaster, accident, etc. So if we take a look of the deadly war, the death toll are increasing over time, right? From the Duncan Revolt until Korean War until the latest World War One, yeah, killed 3.575 million people, and World War Two killed 14.17 million people. So if we take a look, there are the death toll caused by directly the war is a lot. The death toll aftermath of the war, which is caused by the famine, are even bigger. The death toll caused by the pandemic is even bigger, right? By the plague, because you can take a look here. The HIV killed 25 million people. Plague of Justinian 30 million people. Spanish flu 50 million people. Spanish what is this? Smallpox is actually 56 million people. And also the Black Death is 200 million people. It's basically a lot of population died because of the plague, right? So if you take a look, even the famine actually causing more death than the war itself and the pandemic itself, right? Right. So what's going on next is on the fifth seal, which is Revelation 6:9. It is said, when the Lamb opened the fifth seal, right, I saw under the altar of the soul of those who had been slain for the word of God and for the testimony that been upheld. Right? 10. They cried out a loud voice, How long, O Lord, holy or true until you avenge our blood and judge those who dwell upon the earth? And the Lord answered on the 11th. Then each of them was given a white robe and told to rest for a while longer until until the full number of their fellow servant brother were killed, just as they had been killed. Okay, the soul is actually represents the believer, which is the Jews who held the testimony of Moses, and Christian who held the testimony of Jesus. That what has been persecuted and killed, right? They have been uphold the word of God and the testimony of Jesus and become martyred. Jews and Christians have been persecuted over time since the Roman Empire even until now. There have been many million people died under the persecution throughout history. Even today, there are still many Jews and Christians suffer persecution globally. Take a look here at timeline between 100 and 380. You can see that the Roman Empire actually persecuted many Christians and the Jews during that period of time. And even today, you can see the map globally persecution. There are many Christians and Jews being persecuted. And God says to wait a little longer until those who have been persecuted will be punished eternally. Right. The next happening will be the sixth shield, which is the natural disaster. I will read some of the verses. I will not go through all of them, right? 12. And when I saw the land open the sixth year, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became like sackcloth of a coat of a hair, and the whole moon turned to blood. And the star of the sky fell to the earth, and like the ripe figs dropping from the tree shaken by the great wind. And the sky receded like a straw being rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved from its place. And blah blah blah. You can read by yourself. The black sun here and the black moon actually represent a solar eclipse, right? So solar eclipse when the sun is covered by the moon, and the lunar eclipse where the moon actually covered by the shadow of the earth, right? So that become the red color. So during the solar eclipse and lunar eclipse happen when the sun and moon are lined up together to the earth. So what is happening? It will increase the gravitational force within the earth, right, and the moon, and cause some ocean tidal and pressure on the tectonic plate. So if you can take a look on the statistic of the natural disaster, usually happen around 14 days before and after the solar moon, right? Usually before and after the solar eclipse or before and after the lunar eclipse. So it actually because of the pressure in the tectonic plate cause the tectonic plate to move and causing really some natural disaster like earthquake, volcanic activity, landslide, even trigger tsunami and flood, etc. So it also impacts the oceanic underwater circulation and atmospheric weather turbulence. Yeah, because of the tidal wave, and it contributes to another weather disaster like typhoon, cyclone, flood, drought, firestorm, hailstorm, etc. The magnitude of this natural disaster is getting bigger and bigger over time, right? Because it's using in terms of the destruction scale power. And many people will be forced to build bunker and to hide underground beneath the mountain. Is what's happening, right? You can see here, but it's a global disaster happening, and many kind of disaster could happen, and uh, this one caused by mainly by the solar eclipse and lunar eclipse, right? So here are the map of the flash flood and all these kind of natural disasters that happen all over the world. Okay, what is happening next, which is the seven, actually seven seal, which is the silent on the heaven. Revelation 8:1. And when the Lamb opened the seventh seal, there was silence in the heaven for about half an hour. And I saw the seven angels who stand before God, and they were given seven trumpets, and for them shall be great tribulation, and for them shall be great tribulation such as had not been happened from the beginning of the world until now. And nor ever shall be. Number of the seventh seal here is actually the number seven, represent a cyclical and a completion, right? So it is a repetitive number, a seven-day creation, like a seven time of forgiveness. All these numbers are actually repetitive number. They do not fall into the trap, right? Basically, mainly many Christians they think that they can put a timeline on this seven seals, seven bowls, and seven trumpet in the book of Revelation, which is actually incorrect, right? Because the Bible itself does not put timeline on it. Cyclical events started from Jesus' ascension until Jesus' second coming. Those are series of events that happening like invasion, war, famine, death, persecution, disaster, etc. Open the seal. Open seal means that the word inside of the scroll is authentic and valid. So when you actually send a letter in the older days, you put a seal on it to make sure that the letter are correctly sent to the respective person and open the seal as the person who are worthy to take and open it, right? That means this had happened and will happen in the Jesus until Jesus' second coming. War will never stop and it will continue until Jesus' second coming. Pandemic will never stop and it will continue as well as disaster will never stop. It will continue until Jesus' coming. These things are happening again and again repetitively. Each time this event stop in one place, it will start in another place. Each time this event occur, it will be bigger and bigger than ever before. So this tribulation will only end if Jesus comes for the second time. And this is the reminder that the tribulation happening because Jesus will come in the second time. Alright, that's all our video for today. And thank you for watching and see you next for our other video. See you, bye bye.